Hi and welcome back to another Once Upon a Tiny Farm episode, and today I am going to talk about some of the literal, I guess figuratively, growing pains that we're having here on our tiny farm. So let's talk about what mistakes I've made, and hopefully that you could learn from my mistakes so you don't make them again. Well, the first thing is that I'm finding it almost impossible to find a time of day that is quiet and without either people mowing their lawns, or there is this construction going on in the housing development behind us that is like happening all day long, and it's really obnoxious and nothing I could do about that. But let's talk about some of the actual mistakes I've made so far. The biggest thing that I realized that I should have done right away now I'm not sure if this is just the compost that we got or the fact that I didn't cover it, but what I realized is that there were weed seeds in that compost that we got, and if I had kept that compost pile covered with a tarp, we probably could have killed them, suppressed them, but I didn't do that. And then they were out for a couple weeks, and then I used them in the garden making these beds, and the first 4 beds that I made are just full of weed seeds, and I have already planted some things, so they're just going to all be competing for growing space with those weed seeds, and I can't put a tarp over them because I'm depending on my first successions of lettuce for market, and if things don't go well with that, then it's going to push me back at least a week, maybe more, of when I want to start selling. So hopefully I just won't in the future. I'm just going to keep my compost pile covered until I need to use it, and then put it directly on the garden. What has worked, and what I learned from that, is that I use this silage tarp behind me that I talked about in the last video, and that has been suppressing the weeds, and I am going to be planting directly into these beds. This silage tarp has been on this across these 5 beds here for the last 2 weeks, so hopefully all those weeds have died. And I have some things that needed to get in the ground a couple days ago, and I've been waiting for my broad fork that I ordered to come in, and I got the actual fork, the end of it, but I'm still waiting for the handles to come in, which came in a separate order. So I was hoping to broad fork these beds with an actual broad fork, but I just need to get things planted, so I'm going to use my garden fork, which is going to just take me a little bit longer and won't be as great of a aeration of the soil, but I just got to do it to get things started. So I'm about to plant a bunch of things that have about a 30-day to maturity. Spinach, early wonder tall top beets, which I'm growing for just the greens, and I'm actually curious how those will come out, because I want to do a nice spring mix of greens, and that will look really nice to have those beet greens in there. I'm also going to be planting some Easter egg radishes, do a bed of radishes. And what is the 4th thing that I had? Red Russian kale, but I'm going to be keeping them small, so small, red Russian kale, baby red Russian kale, which will take about 30 days, and I want all of those things to be ready for I guess now we're looking at the 3rd week of June to be able to start selling at market. We'll see how that goes, but that's what I'm trying to do, and trying to make it happen. Another thing, not really a mistake, but something I discovered, is I did a soil test through the local extension office here for us in Pennsylvania. It was the Schuylkill County Extension Office. I sent it to the University Park in Penn State University. Got it back a couple weeks later and found out that we have a very low pH in the soil, and it's actually pretty cool. It told you a few other things that the soil was sufficient in, and what amendments you could add to the soil to improve that. and they recommended limestone to increase the pH. So I got a whole bunch of bags of limestone that I'm going to be putting into these beds, and as I fork the soil, that'll hopefully help till in and help improve the pH in a natural way. And I'm also going to be adding some worm castings, which I didn't do in the first few beds, so we'll do limestone and worm castings as our only amendments at the moment besides the compost. And yeah, hopefully that will help these plants become very productive for us. Another issue is my first bed of Salanova lettuce. Apparently the neighborhood bunnies and birds, I don't know who's been eating it, but like almost the entire bed has been eaten, and that's very annoying and nothing I could do about it. What I could have done about it is completed putting on the fence around this garden plot, which I haven't done yet because I don't know, I guess I'm just not good at prioritizing, or I just keep putting it off to do other things. But I realize that it's an important thing that I need to get done soon, because I'm not going to have anything to sell if all the neighborhood animals keep eating my stuff. So it's going to be something I need to do in the coming week. I'm going to use the earthway seeder and use a couple different kinds of the seed plates this time. So let's get to removing this tarp and planting. I just wanted to show here, well, what this shows, for one, is that, well, that tarp is 25 feet long, and I was trying to make 25-foot long beds, and obviously I made it about a foot longer than 25 feet. So you could see up, these beds have no weeds in them. They look good. The last foot that I didn't get to cover is full of those weeds that haven't been suppressed. So you see the power there of the silage tarp. Gonna be making sure to use those from now on. Alright, so since the other day I last seeded beets in this earthway seeder, I still have the beet plate in there, so I'm gonna do the first row with the early wonder tall top beets, and then we'll do something else. Now see, I was so anxious to get that planted that I forgot to broad fork the bed and add any amendments beforehand. Well, that's better. That's what I was supposed to do the first time. So that looks good. And now I think I'm going to plant some of the radish. I'll put on the radish plate. The radish plate is also works for spinach. You can see on there. So after I do the radishes, I'll do spinach next. I didn't mention the first row of the early wonder beets that I'm growing for the beet greens. I did 7 rows of that, and I'm going to be doing 7 rows of the radishes, and I believe I'm going to be doing 7 rows of the spinach too. I'm going off basically Curtis Stone's book, and it pays for itself, kind of the charts that he puts in there to make it as simple as possible to a newbie like me to know how much to plant in each row to get the most yield for a bed. So that's what we're going to do next. Man, I really like having this cedar. I know it's not like the most expensive or best cedar, but pretty cool how fast you could seed a bed like that. So now I'm just going to do spinach, and I've only noticed a few times it's gotten kind of like jammed, the wheel, and that's from some seeds got stuck behind this little disc plate. So I guess if you're using this, you have to make sure that when you finish seeding a certain kind of seed that you have to get all of those seeds out of there, even the maybe 1 or 2 that don't want to get out. You just got to really shake them out. So now we're going to do some spinach. I got a variety called Space. it's a hybrid, and hopefully will be very productive this year. Let's hope. Now this last row I'm going to plant of the baby red Russian kale, they're very, very tiny seeds. And I'm curious how that'll do with this cedar, because that's one of the downsides of this earthway cedar. People say it's not that great for small seeds like lettuce and carrots especially. So we'll see, because I have to use I'm going to be using it for the arugula, which is also smaller seeds. So we're going to do 7 rows of this red Russian kale, and I think I'm going to call it. So let's get done. One last thing, not really the last thing, but one very important thing I have yet to do is connect a water line over here to where our farm is. And it's about maybe 50-60 feet from the hydrant in our driveway. So I have been digging a very shallow trench across this little road here from our driveway over to here. We own both of these. This is still our property, but we share that little driveway here with a few of our neighbors. So I have to dig across that driveway at like a time when nobody else is going to be driving, so I don't, like, you know, clog up traffic with a big hole in the driveway. So I might have to do that one night, just around like 8-9 o'clock, just like dig for a couple hours, like 15 feet across the driveway to finish my trench, so I can connect all the PVC pipes and have water set up here, and then I could set up my sprinkler system with these wobblers that I got, and I'll probably do that in a separate video. But I'm gonna have to hand water all these seeds that I just planted. Not a big deal, not the end of the world, just kind of annoying. Have to go back and forth with the water can, so that's what I'm gonna do. And there we go. Got those 1, 2, 3, 4 beds done. They look really nice. And got them watered in. Now I kind of hope I didn't sound too negative in the beginning of this video, but I tend to do that. I get a little down on myself sometimes. I get frustrated. But you know what? We're making progress. We're making stuff happen. Got these beds done. They look really, really nice. Tomorrow I think I'm going to work on finishing getting the water connected over here, which will help us out a lot. And no weeds in these new beds. Looks really sharp. Happy with that. I got half of the garden, the fencing around this market garden put up, so I gotta finish that. We're getting there, and yeah, things are starting to happen. Thank you for sticking around and watching our videos, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe and like our videos, and we'll be making a lot more content like this coming up. So thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Okay. Hey?
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
Can I cover them? Can I cover them?
Mm-hmm.